My name is Jay. Jay. I spy with my little eye. Mindset, a marketing podcast. Click, quick. Usain Bolt bust. Success leaves clues, no excuses. Feed your mind, enjoy the juices. Add value, profit expect it. Now I exit just like Brexit, like wow.
Okay, bro, you ready, yeah? Alright, go, man. Welcome to the Mindset and Marketing Consultant. Welcome to the Mindset and Marketing Podcast with Jay Uday. And today we have Jared Latigo, and he is a financial and wellness consultant, and he is the author of the bestseller Connection brand. Let's have a round of applause for the main man, Jared Latigo. Yes. Get in.
That's an intro.
Yes.
That's an intro.
Oh. So I will tell you in a while why I was playing that classic by the OJs, for the love of money. First of all, tell the viewers where you are at the moment. Where are you?
I physically, I'm in my truck right now.
Okay.
This is the quietest place in my house.
Brilliant.
But I live in North Texas.
Texas, okay.
Yeah.
So, if I was to see you in the elevator in North Texas in a building, what would you tell me that you do? Like, give me a 10-second pitch in terms of what do you do so we get an essence.
Yeah. So I'm a corporate financial wellness consultant, but I don't sell any financial products. I only educate and provide direction for people to achieve their dreams.
Okay.
So that's my elevator speech.
Brilliant. And I think you have a very, very interesting story. The story about how you decided to, move from the hustle and bustle, the rat race in a sense, to downsize. I mean, I think the viewers would be very interested in that story. I think it's very compelling.
Yeah, so that's where our story starts. And I'll keep it pretty brief. But back in 2010, we were in a house that we had bought in 2006.
Yes.
So kind of for us, it was a good part of the market to buy.
Okay.
Pretty low. And then we actually got into the house. It was an 1,800 square foot house, nice house in the city, in the same town that we grew up in. And we started kind of realizing that we were under some stress, and we didn't really know why. But for a couple of years there, we toyed around with our finances and trying to get those back in order. So 2010 hits, and our air conditioner goes out. And in Texas, when the air conditioner goes out, you replace the air conditioner. It's not an option. It's 105 degrees outside.
Wow.
So we replaced that. $1,500 later, that was the last of our emergency fund. That was the last money we had to our name, outside of, a couple of investments, which we weren't going to touch. We were paycheck to paycheck. So we were like, we've got to fix this. Like, this is not okay. I had a 1-year-old at the time. And, of course, me and my wife had been married for a handful of years. And we were just like, we really need to fix this. Right. So we did the Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace University, worked through that 14 months, $34,000 paid off. Right. So we're out of debt. Then a couple years later, 2014 rolls around, and we just weren't like really excited about things. We were like, we've got this life. We want my wife to quit work. We want her to come home and teach the kids, homeschool, that's her passion. And my passion was building my business. And we realized that where we were at, the goals that we had and where we were at didn't match. Like, they were just two different paths, So we're working toward having this nice house, paying that off, getting the nice cars, all that kind of stuff. But it's not really what we wanted. We wanted to simplify things, right? So my wife comes to me and she's like, I've got this idea. And her idea is like basically a foolproof plan, right? Because I think God comes and speaks to her directly and says, this is what I need you to do. So I've just learned to listen to her and go after it, right? So we decided we're going to sell the house. We're going to downsize. We're going to build something completely debt free that we can pay for, and we are not going to have a house payment. We're done with the debt, as a whole. We had right at $100,000 owed on our house. Our house sold for about 142, I think, was the selling price. After everything's said and done, we had about 35,000 to work with.
Okay.
And so that started us to building our house that we have now.
Wow.
And it ended up being 1,000 square feet. It's a metal building that we converted, and we did a lot of work ourselves. My father-in-law's a contractor.
Okay.
And he really helped us kind of figure things out. He did a lot of work for us. My dad helped. And so we built this thing debt free. What was interesting is when we decided that we were going to take that route, we didn't know where we were going to build. We didn't know what size exactly it was going to be. We had thought about 800. And we certainly didn't have all the cash to do it. And so as we moved closer and closer, we ended up selling our house in September. We used that money to pay down the initial to get the building done and to get the foundation done and all that stuff set up. Then October rolls around of 2014, and I end up getting all this freelance work, like more freelance work than I've ever had in my life in like a 3-month period, enough to completely cash flow the rest of the house.
Wow.
And it was just such a blessing to have all that come through. And so that was our confirmation that this is what we were supposed to be doing. So we ended up with a completely paid for 1,000 square foot house. We could move in. Yeah, we still had some things to do. I had cinder blocks for my front porch.
Yeah.
But it was there. It was livable, and we had done it. And so that was kind of our story that got us where we wanted to go to live more of a life that we really wanted.
Fantastic. Now we can maybe move on to a bit about what you do, because you mentioned that you studied for a qualification in financial planning, you'd say?
Yeah, financial wellness.
Wellness.
Not necessarily planning.
Okay, financial wellness. So tell me a bit about what you learned. Is there a certain system? I'm sure the people listening might want a little insight into, what you've learned in that particular area of financial wellness.
Right. So what I do now comes directly out of the plan that we did, which was Dave Ramsey's plan. And it's a 7-step process. Takes you from getting your savings going to paying off debt to investing, putting back money for emergencies, insurance, all kinds of things. It walks you through everything, right? And so that's where I am now, is I basically teach that stuff, but I teach it on a corporate level.
Okay.
So I've taken it to companies.
Yep.
And I will actually go into a company, and I can provide the consultations to kind of help them figure out like if that's right for their company.
Okay.
If their employees would accept it. So I have a survey that I can provide. It's 15 questions, and it will kind of give them a gauge on what people are looking at. The last company I did it with, I have all the results on my website. It's jaredlatigo.com/survey, and all the results are there. But the last company I did it at was 112 employees, and 80% of them wanted help with their finances.
Okay.
And so the company had come to me and said, I really like this financial stuff, but I'm not sure if our company would do it, right? And so I said, well, here's a survey. Take the survey, see if they'll do it, right? And 80% of them wanted help. And
wow.
So I was like, that's a pretty big chunk of them. So they came back to me a couple weeks later. They're like, all right, we need to do something with this. So then now I've started the process. So I've did my workshop just not too long ago. Went ahead and walked them through the beginning stages of what's called Smart Dollar, which is a Dave Ramsey program, and it is a 24/7 access personal finance coach. The company will pay for the licenses and for me to help do the trainings and get people involved.
Brilliant.
Offered as a benefit to the employees.
Okay. Fantastic. And what would you say, obviously, is the Mindset and Marketing podcast here? What role does financial wellness play in terms of mindset? Do you find if people haven't got the sort of kind of financial wellness, does it cause a lot of stress? When did you find that when you sorted those problems out, you began to have a new lease of life? What's the link there between them?
Yeah, so there is a huge correlation between finances and your stress level, and where you want to go in life.
Okay.
I am slowly starting to get this message out there that if you've got, here's the situation. I'm going to pose a question back to you for a second. All right. When you were younger, you probably dreamed about what you were going to be when you grew up, right?
Yeah.
So what did you dream about what you were going to be?
I was going to be a banker working in the city of London. Yeah.
Okay. So
yeah.
you're going to be a banker, right? So what was so interesting about being a banker?
You got to wear nice suits and you'd make a lot of money.
Okay. All right, cool. All right. So as you got older, first of all, you're not a banker.
No. Yeah.
So as you got older, what happened to that dream? Where did it go?
I realized that it wouldn't bring fulfillment to me. I lasted about a week or two in a corporate job. And yeah, I lasted that long, and then I shifted into teaching and things like this. Yeah, like helping people in that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple of things probably happened. One, your worldview changed. You didn't want necessarily just to make money. You wanted to help people, right? And the other thing was that you went for a more realistic dream, right? Your dream was more realistic in the sense of it was a little more achievable for you, right? So a lot of people when they're kids, particularly younger kids, may dream of being like a football player or a basketball player or some sort of like athlete of some sort that's kind of like their idols, right?
Yeah.
So but as you get older,
Yeah.
you realize those dreams are not super realistic because there's such a small percentage of people who actually get to do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say in terms of being a banker, it wasn't so much it was not realistic, it was not really aligned to what I wanted to do, I guess. But I guess, if you're looking at a footballer, then that's, the minutest amount of people can do that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, understood.
Yeah, so but the
Yeah.
point is that you changed along the way.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe somewhere down the road, or maybe you decided that you still wanted to be a banker. Right?
Okay.
You still want to do that, and you may at some point, right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people lose their drive along the way.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Yeah.
They end up in their first job, and they look up, and it's 20 years later, and they're still in that first job, and they're complacent, and they're just not happy with things.
Yes.
Or in general, they maybe just hate their job. Maybe they did like it when they started, right? But they just got stuck there, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is in our minds, we get stuck there and we forget what we really wanted our life to look like.
Okay.
Well, one of the things that happens is finances are the root cause of stress. And so if you're stuck in a job, one of the main reasons you're probably stuck there is because you don't think you can financially go anywhere else.
Okay.
Right? You've got a steady income. Maybe it's a decent income. Maybe it's a really good income. But you think you can't go anywhere else because you'd have to take a pay cut or you'd have to start over on the corporate ladder or whatever it is. Well, if you're handling your finances properly and you've got things in place to protect you against layoff or job change or cutbacks or whatever, then all of a sudden you're able to consider those dreams again.
Okay.
You're able to consider, well, what if I did make that job change? What if I did take a $10,000 or $20,000 a year pay cut? Could I survive it while I am, building up again and getting to a place I'd really, really, really want to be?
Okay.
And that's where a lot of people are, particularly in America and, across the world, 86% of workers are unengaged. They really don't care about their jobs, right? Now, America's a little bit less of a percentage, I think 76. So we're, as a whole, the world is not engaged.
Yeah.
But our mindset is that we're so stressed at a variety of things that we can't get out of our situation. Well, finances will help you do that. If you plan them and you plan things out and you handle them properly, then all of a sudden you're able to finance those dreams and those goals that you had when you were younger and get you where you want to go.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I'm not sure in terms of what you can say and what you can't say here, but is it possible to give the viewers a couple of golden nuggets in terms of some practical things that they can do starting from today? Yeah.
Absolutely. So the first thing that you're going to do is you have got to figure out how to actually do a zero-based budget. Yeah. Most people don't look at their money and budget it out. They just simply don't. They will get some income, they pay their bills, and then they just kind of go blow the rest of it, and they're not sure where it went, right? And this is across the board. It doesn't matter if you're making $25,000 a year or $500,000 a year. Like, most people just aren't managing their money, and they think that if they make more money, then they'll be able to do more in life. Well, the problem is you don't have a plan for more money. So guess what? The world has a plan for it, and it's called marketing, and they're gonna sell you on stuff, right? So if you have a plan for your money, which is called a budget, it's telling every single dollar that you have coming into your house where you want it to go. So you set your priorities.
Okay.
And so number one is budget, zero-based budget. Every single dollar that comes in your house needs to be written down on paper before you get it and spent on paper. And then you stick to that budget. Right?
Okay.
And that's your plan.
Brilliant.
After that, you need to really consider what you have in terms of savings for emergencies.
Okay.
Right. And so you need to talk. Well, actually, after that's going to be debt. If you have debt, you need to take care of that debt and figure out a way to dig out of it. Start with the smallest debt and list them out. You know, got a $50 one, a $200 one, a $400 one, a $10,000 one. Start at the smallest one. Pay it off. Pay the minimum payments on all of them, and we use what's called a debt snowball. When you get that one paid off, you roll over the minimum payment to the next one. When you get that one paid off, you roll over both of those minimum payments to the third one, and you'll slowly get that debt paid off. You dig out from under that, less stress, more freedom in your finances, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, you move into the savings, where you actually build an emergency fund to protect yourself in the event of an emergency. And there's, you know, a lot of other steps along the way, but those are the three basic ones. If you can nail down a budget and start telling your money where to go, you'll be way better off.
Very good. Thank you very much for sharing. I liked your link there in terms of the mindset and the fact that people might be trapped, feeling like they have to stay here. Yeah, I think that was very, very well put on your behalf. So we've dealt a bit with the mindset. Could you talk to us a bit about the marketing? You know, we understand you get corporate gigs in terms of speaking about financial wellness. Tell me some of the ways that have worked in terms of you marketing yourself to get these organizations to hire you.
So, couple of things. One of them is going to be consistency.
Okay.
You've got to figure out what your message is.
Yeah.
And you've got to be consistent with that message.
Okay.
You have to always show up constantly saying that message over and over and over. And it may take you 5 years or 10 years to get there.
Okay.
But you've got to be consistent with it. I think back to a story that is there's a what's it called? It's a children's museum in New York.
Okay.
And it's called the Rochester Strong Museum of Play.
Okay.
It's all about playing, right? It has memorabilia, it has games, it has all kinds of stuff. That museum, it took the lady that started that museum 20 years to open that museum.
Wow.
But she had such dedication and consistency with what she wanted to do that she stuck with it before it finally opened for 20 years later.
Yeah.
Right? And so if we will take our message and be consistent with it, then eventually we'll get where we want to go.
Brilliant.
And so when I'm talking to these companies and I'm reaching out to them, I'm just being consistent with it.
Okay.
I'm reaching out, I'm pitching them, I'm saying, this is what I'm offering, this is how I can help your employees. And I just have that underlying consistent message constantly that it's about, from a company standpoint, it's about helping culture, retention, company goals, stress levels, and as a whole, helping their employees and their people just thrive. You know, so that's the message.
Okay. Have you ever thought about changing target market? You know, I know you're working with corporates, but some of this could roll over to other entrepreneurs, consultants and things like this. Is it something you're going to focus on the corporate, or will you maybe sort of kind of move to consultants as well, potentially?
Yeah. So I do both.
Yep.
I really do personal consulting as well.
Okay.
And I will sit down with somebody just like this and lay out a plan, a very similar plan, and give them, you know, step by step and provide them accountability. So I do that. That is personal consulting. And what happens on the corporate level is I can go in and I can talk to everyone corporate wide, tell them what's going on, and then as I start getting feedback from them and start working with them over a period of months, then they can reach out to me for personal consulting, and they pay for that themselves.
Okay.
To get further along where they want to go. Right.
Okay.
So it works together, but the corporate part of it is just the overarching, I guess a way to really connect with them on a mass scale, I guess.
Amazing. So right behind you, we can see some car seats there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that gives a little clue about family life. You got 3 kids or?
I do.
Oh.
I do. I have a 9-year-old boy, a 5-year-old boy, and a 3-year-old girl.
That's absolutely amazing. And a wonderful wife. Can't forget the wife.
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Tell me a bit about how you manage business and family life, because some people focus too much, on the business, and the family life suffers. On the flip side, some people might potentially spend all their time maybe fostering relationships, and they don't push forward with whatever their vision is. So can you say, how do you balance both of them?
Yeah, so that's been, we've been doing this a long time. I freelanced as a web designer. I did web design and marketing for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And that's all I've ever done. I built my first website when I was 12 years old.
Oh.
And so I actually did get paid like when I was 13 by like a friend, that needed a website. That was before websites were even like WordPress wasn't around, nothing was around.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been doing that a long time. And when we got married, I worked at a, so we got together when I was 17. I was still in high school, and she kind of knew that I would always be kind of an entrepreneur type, right? And so we talked about that early on. Now, I did work for an agency off and on for a few years, but I always freelanced on the side. So the work-life balance was pretty simple up until that point.
Okay.
That we had the kids. And once my first son came, I literally I took 2 weeks off, unpaid leave, and I said, I'm going to go spend some time with my family, and then I'll come back, right? I came back in after 2 weeks, and that day I put my 2-week notice in.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm going freelance. I'm going to spend time with my family. I'm going to be around my family, right? I'm going to build my own business. And their words to me were basically, this is going to be really, really hard. I hope you know that. And I said, I don't care. It's what I need to do for my family, for us to have the relationship that I want us to have, because I want to be there for my son, right? And so fast forward 9 years, I've got 3 kids now. We have really worked together really well.
Okay.
She understands that when I'm working,
mm-hmm.
right? I will leave and go to a coffee shop for 3 or 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever it is, a few times a week. Sometimes I'll just go sit in the bedroom and I'll have my headphones on and I'm zoned out, right? But we have this understanding that if I'm working and I'm not there, but in the event that she really needs me, or one of the kids really needs me, work is not more important than them,
mm-hmm.
And so I will pull away from whatever I'm doing in the event somebody gets hurt or they're just having a really rough day or whatever it is. So there is that balance, but you have to make a conscious effort to say, if everything's, fine, if everybody's, doing their thing, even if they're having a fun day and they're hanging out with friends or whatever, I can't be involved in all of those. Like, just because I work for myself doesn't mean that I get to work, 3 hours a day. Like, I still have to work, and I enjoy working. I love working because I love what I do, and I think that makes a big difference.
Okay. Brilliant. So 5 years later, okay, I want you to picture where you see yourself in 5 years. What will you be doing? What will it feel like? Who will be around you? That sort of thing in 5 years.
Right. So I've actually been thinking about that exact thing a lot lately. I tend to visualize things, not necessarily I'm like a visionary, but I do visualize what things would look like in 5 or 10 years.
Okay.
Right? So 5 years from now, I definitely want to have several streams of income.
Mm-hmm.
That is a big goal for me. And one of those streams of income is definitely going to be corporate consulting.
Okay.
And working with people as a whole, like even speaking, mass audience, right? teaching this message of financial wellness and the importance it is for our lives to be able to get us where we want to go. The other piece to it is my family life, and I would love for my family and I to be able to travel while I'm doing this.
Wonderful.
We have a paid-for house. We homeschool. We don't have any real ties here except for some stuff we're doing at church locally. And so I would love to have an RV, and I'd love to be able to travel around and spend a month in a state or whatever. Maybe go abroad for a couple weeks and do a consulting gig over there and take my family with me. We want to experience things, and eventually I would really like to be able to build a web, if you will, of other consultants that want to do this, right?
Oh, wow.
That want to do financial wellness consulting, because it's such an important message for from now till the end of time, really. I mean, we have to manage what we've been given in terms of resources. So that's what it looks like for me.
What's your biggest fear?
My biggest fear? That's a good one. My biggest fear, probably getting off the path that God's laid before me. I'm a Christian, and I believe that I have a particular job to do on this earth. And my biggest fear is that I will get to the end of my life and not have done what he called me to do. And I just don't want to. I want to do as much as I can to follow that path, while I still can. And so mine is definitely a more eternal fear. There's obviously smaller ones, but as far as biggest goes, that's it. I definitely want to be on the path that he's laid before me.
Okay. 2 more questions. We definitely appreciate your time today.
Sure.
500 years, they're looking back at your websites, at the book you've written, looking at Jared Latigo. What are 2 things that they're saying about you 500 years in the future?
500, that's a long time. That is a lot. There are very few people that are recognized 500 years after their time.
You're going to be one of them.
Number one is that I live my life to glorify God. And number 2 is that I love people.
Okay.
And that's, if I can achieve those 2 things, I'm fine with that.
Amazing. Thank you very much for your time. Before you go, how can people get hold of you? Because I know you've got a lot of goodness. And your website, I was checking it out today, and you've touched that up recently, haven't you? Because the last time I went to it, it wasn't, you made a few more hyperlinks and things like this. Is that correct? You've changed that up recently.
I completely changed it 8 months ago.
Okay.
I guess.
Oh, fair enough.
When I really went from marketing to consulting.
Yeah.
So that was, I don't know when this is actually coming out, but that was early, so about March or April of 2018.
Okay.
When I really shifted. But since then, yes, I've added things. I continually add things. Every time I'm on a podcast, every time I get to write for another publication, I'll add a logo, that kind of stuff. And I'm about to be restructuring some of my sales stuff, because I've been in marketing a long time, and I've realized that I kind of have just put information on there, but I haven't structured it as well as I really should. So I'm about to be working on some of that and tweaking some of that. The reason being is because I want to walk people through the steps.
Okay.
Very, very, very simple.
Yeah.
Right. And I want people, if they're going there, I want them to very clearly understand what they're getting. If they even do something as simple as subscribe to my newsletter, because I try to provide tons of value through that newsletter, and through my blog post. And so I want them to know very clearly what they're getting.
Okay.
And I mean, I don't subscribe to hardly anybody in terms of emails, like actual people that send me. I can probably count on one hand the amount of people that I actually read their blog posts that come to me. And so I want to make sure that I'm doing my best to make sure I'm communicating exactly what they're going to get, if they choose to give me their attention. So
Amazing.
So yeah, my website, jaredlatigo.com.
Yep.
That's Latigo. Actually, I should spell Jared too. Jared
Yep.
Latigo.com. You can sign up for my email list on there. I provide lots of stuff specific to my email list, and then of course you'll get all my blog posts as well. And then I've got some stuff under the survey. The corporate survey is on there. There's a link to that. So yeah, there's all the resources right there. You can get everything.
Brilliant. What we'll do is we'll put all the links below on YouTube. So if you want to connect, you can just do that directly with Jared. Jared, I want to thank you for your time today. This has been we made it happen. Nothing will stop us, and the joys of modern technology. You actually using the iPhone. That's awesome. Yeah. For that, so I think do whatever it takes, as they say. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Well, thanks for having
me. No. I've definitely,
I've
enjoyed this, and I wish you all the success in the future.
Yep, you too.
All right. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and log in to watch another episode of Mindset and Marketing podcast, and check out Jared. Peace.